it was my first real heartbreak. So it was really easy to write that song. I just sat down and I wrote it in one sitting. I was actually watching a TV show called Californication. With
oh.
And he's with
I'm sure enough people know about it. I mean,
enough people,
yes.
If there's people listening, I'm sure there's a lot of people that potentially have at least heard of it, if not watched it. But anyhow,
right.
David Duchovny in the show says to the woman he's with, he's about to get on a plane or something, and he says that he loves her to him, and she's about to go to say something back, like, not necessarily that she loves him. We don't really know what she was going to say, but he puts his finger on her lip, and he's like, I didn't say it to hear it. And then right there, it dawned on me, because I had just broke up with the girl that I had been in the longest relationship with at this point, which was almost, it was like over 4 years. And basically, it dawned on me exactly how I had been feeling in this experience I had with her. And I was like, yeah, that's it. When I say I love you, it's not so I can hear it back. And so I ran up in my room, grabbed a pen and a notebook, and just wrote the whole thing. And was like, you know what, this is the perfect guitar song. So I wrote it, there's not a lot of lyrics, and that's intentional. Well, actually, originally there was a lot. There was 2 more verses, but I stripped it down because I didn't like having this song that was like almost 10 minutes every time we played. And not only that, I felt like it was a little redundant, the verses that I cut out of it. But, I like it having just a little bit of lyrics because the whole thing about the song for me is it's the guitar expression.
That's what I was just about to say, Michael. It's one of those songs that it's one of those just straight ahead, just like tunes that just let's give the space to tear it up. I mean, the long, slow blues that we would play. It was right when Michael first started singing. And he wrote that song, and we would play it all the time. And what it did too at that point was it gave Martin time at the time when we're doing all these gigs that were 3 hours long. I mean, it can get pretty crazy when you're singing all those songs, and having to come up with all that material. So when Michael started singing that, it was one of the first songs, and it was a 10-minute jam where Michael, I really enjoyed it when we first started playing it. Now,
if you see it live, you'll hear the verses the way they are on the studio recording, but it still ends up being like a 10+ minute jam sometimes because I can extend it with the guitar. But that's what I love about it, But
yeah, and what I love about it though is just being since the fact that we're all brothers and our experiences have been so shared. Like I've shared in your just various emotions and different things, throughout the years, and so just the whole that song in itself, I mean, means a lot to me, and always playing it, there's a lot of memories that come up with it,
Sometimes,
exactly.
You being my brother, I don't consider that, that you relate to it too.
No, yeah, I know. Well, that's what I'm like. Actually, just being on the phone right now is making me think about it. So, guys, I'm sorry, but I gotta say that I'm right now watching a Bears game where the Bears are down 23-7. It's disgusting right now. They're in Soldier Field down to the Saints, but Brandon Marshall just it's Alshon. Man, I'm blind. Alshon Jeffries.
Martin should be on this interview anyway,
I know. I was just going to say, he could have been spending time with us because who wants to watch the Bears lose?
No, well, the thing is he is watching it, and he's freaking out right now. He's not in a good mood. If you call him right now, it's like I kind of detach a little bit from it. I mean, but the Bears are at least look like they're about to score a touchdown, so they're going to be within striking distance here. Hopefully in a minute's time it's going to be a 23-14 game. So
yeah,
with plenty of time on the clock.
Yeah.
Where are you both at? I know the number we called is in New York, so.
Yeah, and I'm actually in Chicago, and Mike's in California. He's in Sacramento.
That's wild. So, but the number's in New York,
in
Chicago, and California. Wow.
It's the 21st century, guys. Are
the Sacramento Kings going to be there or not?
They're going to stay. We found a consortium, and I say we very loosely. I had nothing to do with it, but we found a consortium of people that are going to help keep it in town. They're serious about it.
I know Jack has got some ownership now.
So I think it's for real now. I think him and an entrepreneur from the Bay Area who I think he's a billionaire in the tech industry, because the thing about Sacramento is there's not tons of corporate sponsorship here, so you need kind of out-of-town dollars. And our closest big city is San Francisco, and that's kind of where sponsorship comes from. So we're just glad to keep them. That's the only major league professional sports team we have here.
Yeah, because last I heard, they were going to be gone in Seattle, and we're huge Bulls fans. We're Chicago guys, and it's just cool. Our publicist Doug Deutsch, he's out in California, and he's a huge Clippers fan and loves basketball. So we're always talking shop.
Yeah.
I can hardly get every time I get on the phone with him, we'll talk about the band for a minute, and it's just it goes right into
down to business.
What's happening.
Yes.
And I'm a huge Blackhawks fan. I watch hockey. That's about the only sport I watch.
Oh, I've tried a little bit. I haven't, not a lot, to get into it. But I don't want to be just one of those bandwagon guys that's like, well, the Hawks are doing good, so now I'm a hockey fan. Because I've never been a hockey fan. I've never really watched hockey, and I tried, but I never can get into it. And I have so many friends that love it.
Oh, so, definitely. Yeah, I don't even know what it is that caught me. Well, I kind of do.
Probably just the fever. They're good right now. I mean, they're kicking butt and taking names.
Yeah.
What am I allowed to say on that?
I had an old boyfriend when I was 18 that was into hockey and got me into it, and it's just grown from there. And I guess if he was a huge football fan, maybe I would be a football fan right now, but it's hockey, so.
Yeah. Well, I've just always been basketball, football.
Yeah. Tell us more about Once Upon a Time in the South Loop. I mean, how did you figure out which songs you wanted to be on there and that? Because I know you have a combination of originals and covers.
Okay, so basically 6 of the songs are written by Martin, and 1 of the songs is written by me, and there's 10 songs total, so the other 3 are covers. Martin chose all the material, and it's too bad that he's not here to tell you more about it, but the 3 covers he chose are really, really tasteful covers, and I'm not really sure, what, I know this much, that the idea was to try to showcase, as versatile, selection as we can of what we're capable of, and just to try to represent blues well, too, to get the more country blues and the more Chicago blues both mixed in. And so basically, that was the concern of choosing the material, is just to, show a broad, array of what we're doing. And so Martin had, I'm not really sure how old the batch of songs were. I think most of them he wrote relatively recently. And
yeah, definitely. I can say that I think a lot of them were very recent. I mean, it all happened so quick. It's crazy. It really is.
Yeah, well, yeah, and then what basically happened was I have a studio here at my house, and Martin came over and with the drummer, Nick, and they recorded what's called skeleton tracks, which is just basically the guitar and the drums. So, because I engineer all the music here out of the living room, basically. And so it starts off with just real bare, just the guitar and the drums. And then after we get those tracks solidified, actually this all happened in the same day, basically. Bobby was hanging out. Nick had to take off, so he didn't spend the whole day and evening with us. But Martin, Bobby, and I basically, I don't even remember what time we started. It
was early in the day one day. Michael, was it a Friday?
Yeah, I think we started probably like noon or something and ended up going till 5 in the morning Saturday.
I think it was 7 in the morning, probably.
Well, that's when you left, but I think we left the computer desk at about like 5 in the morning or something.
Yeah, the bulk of what we recorded was all done in a one-day span, where Nick recorded the drum tracks in the daytime with Michael and Martin, and then the nighttime was spent recording bass and vocals, and it was just a really cool experience because it was just really intimate. It was just the 4 of us, and a lot of times we got other people hanging around. And
was intense for me because you and Martin had you guys had some break time. Like while you were doing bass lines, Martin could chill.
Yeah, Mike. Yeah, you were nonstop that night.
I was sitting at that desk for so long, man. It was intense. But it was definitely the funnest part of the recording aspect. It was just hanging out and laying it all down. And then after that was all done, the cool thing about the studio being at my house is then I had plenty of time to go back and put my guitar parts on there and stuff. And so because I do all the lead guitar. Actually, Martin did a solo on the last track on the Shillelagh. But other than that, the rest of the solos are mine, and I had plenty of leisure to do those in. So that was the good news. But here's the whole thing: like we were about to get a publicist, and Doug Deutsch, who's a really awesome publicist, and
Definitely.
we wanted to have the album ready by the time we hooked up with him, so that way we could start, getting the press for it. So we wanted to have it done within a month's time, and the only other full album I had recorded was one in 2010, which was a solo album of my stuff. So I had some experience doing it, but the whole thing was I took almost a year to record my solo album. So I had plenty of time to give the album a break and come back to it with fresh ears and judge it better. But with this, since we did it in such a short time frame, when I mixed all the instruments in, which is another it's like such a challenging aspect, because basically if you listen to something in a quiet volume, as you turn it up incrementally, you want all the instruments, the vocals, the drums, the bass, you want everything to come up evenly without, any conflict between the instruments. You want it all to coexist to where it's all nice and audible. But basically, it's really hard to achieve that, because sometimes you'll think you'll be listening to it at half volume, and you're like, wow, this sounds really good, But then you turn it up more, or you turn it down some, and all of a sudden some instruments muddy up, and you're like, well, I can't hear them that well anymore. So trying to get it to sound right at each increment is so hard, especially when, like I was saying, we only had about a month, so I didn't really have too long of breaks to just let it sit and come back at it with fresh ears and hear to judge, how things sounded. So given the short amount of time, I think it turned out really well. I mean, there's things that I would change about it, but to the average listener, I don't think it's anything too serious, It's mainly just my own criticisms and things that I.
Yeah, and as a listener, I will tell you that you are correct. We do not notice what you guys notice. As
right.
far as these
good.
little things that you would change, as long as there's a good beat, a good sound, great lyrics, that's all we care about.
Well, I can tell you right now, like yesterday, or Friday, we did a charity, like Thanksgiving fundraiser thing, and we were playing some. I got a text message from Martin telling me that a couple songs. Generally we don't have really set lists. We're not the type of band. We have a lot of stuff that we choose from, and depending on what's going on in there, it really changes things for us. I mean, really adapt, and particularly Martin, to whatever's going on in the room at that given moment. So our set lists are always varying. But I got a text from him telling me that we were going to do some old stuff that we had recorded a few years ago, which basically made me, I had to go and put the disc in and plug my bass in and more or less just remember my parts. And but listening to the audio and what we had done, because I was listening to an album we recorded called The Myth of Progress, and if you look it up, it's on iTunes and all that stuff under the name Planetary, not Planetary-Blues-Band or anything, just Planetary. But the thing I come away from it just listening to it is just wow. Michael's doing an awesome job with the whole engineering. I'm just glad that we're at a point where we can record ourselves. We don't have to pay, hourly studio time to do what we want to do. I mean, we've put enough into it where we have all this equipment and stuff, and Michael he's really gotten good at it. My bass on the Myth of Progress, I can't even hardly, to me, it's like hardly audible. And I was the one that had the recording equipment at that time, but I didn't really spend a lot of time with it. I was doing a lot of other things. I mean, Michael's really gotten, I guess I'll say, intimate with with the software. I mean, he knows what he's doing. He's spent a lot of time on it, and the mixes that put together. I mean, he's highly critical, of the fact that we did